The bank froze my entire account after a false complaint. The accuser was the last person I expected, my own father. I stared at the notification on my phone until the screen went black, then tapped it back to life. The words hadn't changed. Account access suspended pending investigation. Contact us immediately. My savings, my checking, even the small investment portfolio I had built over 5 years, everything locked tighter than a prison door. I was standing in the middle of the Castro district on a sunny Tuesday morning, coffee in one hand, the other shaking so hard the cup nearly spilled. 29 years old, graphic designer with a steady client list, and suddenly I couldn't even buy lunch. I called the bank before I reached my apartment. The customer service rep sounded bored until I gave my name, Ethan Miller. Then her tone shifted. "Sir, there's a fraud alert filed by a family member. We can't discuss details over the phone. You'll need to come in with ID and proof of address." Family member. Only one person came to mind. Dad. Robert Miller, the man who still sent me Christmas cards signed "Love, Dad," but hadn't spoken my boyfriend's name since the day I introduced Jordan at Thanksgiving last year. By the time I got home, Jordan was already there, grading papers at the kitchen table. His dark curls fell over his forehead as he looked up, smile fading when he saw my face. "Ethan, you look like you saw a ghost." I dropped my bag and told him everything in one breath. The freeze, the complaint, the word family. Jordan set his pen down slowly. "Your dad? Why would he?" He stopped because we both knew why. 2 years together, one very public coming out dinner where I had finally said the words out loud in front of my parents, and Dad had walked out before dessert. He never yelled. He just went quiet, the kind of quiet that simmers for months and then explodes in paperwork. I spent the afternoon on hold with the bank again, then emailed every client whose invoices were due that week. Technical glitch, I typed hating the lie. Jordan cooked pasta and didn't push when I barely ate. That night we lay in bed, not touching, the city lights striping the ceiling through the blinds. I whispered into the dark, "What if I can't pay rent next month?" He rolled toward me, hand finding mine. "We'll figure out. Together." His voice was steady, but I heard the crack. This was the first time money had ever come between us, and it felt like the ground shifting under a relationship I thought was solid. The next morning, I took the bus to the bank branch on Market Street. The manager, a woman named Carla with kind eyes and a tight bun, slid a printed report across the desk. "The complainant is Robert Miller. He claims you used his social security number to open accounts and move funds without authorization. He also mentioned concerns about your lifestyle choices affecting financial stability." She paused, cheeks coloring. His exact words, "lifestyle choices." Code for gay. I sat there in the plastic chair, feeling stripped naked in public. Dad hadn't just reported me. He had weaponized the one thing I had begged him to accept. I walked out of the bank with nothing but a temporary debit card that wouldn't work for 2 weeks. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. "This is for your own good, son. Call me when you come to your senses." I deleted it. Then I called my lawyer friend Marcus, the one who had helped me with my last year. "Ethan, this sounds like malicious reporting. We can fight it." His voice was calm, professional, but I caught the undercurrent of anger. Marcus was gay too. He understood the subtext. By evening, the reality sank in. No direct deposits. No automatic payments. My landlord already emailed about the rent check that bounced. Jordan offered to cover it, but I refused. Pride, maybe stupidity, but I didn't want our love turned into a transaction. Instead, I lay awake listening to his even breathing and wondered how one man's prejudice could unravel everything I had built. The city outside hummed with life. Sirens, laughter, streetcars, but inside our apartment the silence felt heavier than any freeze. 3 days later, the first bill collector called. Then another. My car payment, the gym membership I never used, even the student loan I thought was on autopilot, all flagged. I canceled the gym, skipped groceries, and lived on the protein bars Jordan kept in his backpack. Work suffered. A client pulled a rush project because I missed a deadline while on hold with the bank's fraud department for 47 minutes. My boss, a straight ally named Lisa, pulled me into her office. "Ethan, everything okay? You look exhausted." I told her the truth in clipped sentences. She offered an advance, but I turned it down. I wasn't going to let this define me at the office, too. Jordan tried to help in his teacher way. Logical, patient. He made spreadsheets of our combined expenses. We can swing it for a month, he said one night over cheap takeout. But when I snapped that I didn't want his pity, the argument ignited. It's not pity, Ethan. It's partnership. Or don't you trust me enough for that? His words landed like punches. I accused him of thinking I was hiding money, of believing Dad's lies deep down. He stormed out for a walk. When he came back, we apologized in the hallway, foreheads pressed together, but the crack remained. Financial stress has a way of exposing every insecurity, and mine was simple. I had always feared that loving me openly would cost Jordan something: peace, stability, maybe even respect. I drove to my sister's place in Oakland the next weekend. Sarah had been my quiet supporter since college. She hugged me at the door, her 2 kids tumbling around us. Dad called me too, she admitted over coffee. He said you're throwing your life away, and that freezing the account would force you to rethink things. She shook her head. He's lost it, Ethan. Mom's not speaking to him. For the first time, I cried in front of someone other than Jordan. Sarah held me and whispered, "You're not alone in this. We'll get lawyers, whatever it takes." Back in the city, I met Marcus at a cafe near the courthouse. He wore a sharp navy suit and carried a folder thick with notes. "The complaint has no evidence," he said. "No police report, no actual fraud. It's pure harassment. We file a motion to compel the bank to release the funds and sue for damages under the Consumer Financial Protection Act, plus a civil claim against your father for intentional infliction of emotional distress." He paused, eyes meeting mine. "And Ethan?" The lifestyle mention opens the door to discrimination angles. Judges hate that. Hope flickered for the first time in a week. That night, Jordan and I talked until 2 a.m. I told him about Sarah, about Marcus, about the fear that Dad's hate would poison us. He listened, then pulled me close. "Your dad doesn't get to decide who we are. We do." His kiss was soft, grounding. For a moment, the bank freeze felt smaller than the warmth between us. But sleep still didn't come easy. I kept seeing Dad's face at that Thanksgiving table, the way his jaw tightened when Jordan reached for my hand. One false complaint, and here I was counting pennies while my father sat in Texas, pretending he was protecting me from myself. Court papers arrived by courier on a Thursday. I signed for them with trembling fingers. The bank had 30 days to respond or release the funds. Marcus scheduled a hearing for the following month. In the meantime, he advised me to document everything. Every bounced payment, every sleepless night, every client I lost. I started a journal on my laptop, typing late after Jordan fell asleep. The words poured out: anger at Dad, fear for us, gratitude for Marcus's calm competence. Work became my escape. I threw myself into a rebrand project for a local LGBTQ nonprofit, designing logos that screamed pride because I needed to feel mine. Lisa noticed the extra hours and quietly added a bonus to my next paycheck. "Not charity," she texted. "Talent." Small mercies mattered more than ever. Jordan's school had parent-teacher conferences that week, so I went alone to the first court status meeting. The judge's clerk reviewed the file and raised an eyebrow at the lifestyle clause. "We'll address this," she said. Outside the courthouse, I called Dad. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Son." His voice was flat. I told him I was suing. He laughed once, short and bitter. "You always did like drama." Then he hung up. The dial tone echoed louder than any insult. Back home, Jordan had made chili. We ate on the couch, legs tangled, and I read him entries from the journal. When I reached the part about fearing I'd lose him, he set his bowl down. "Ethan, the only thing that could end us is if you stop fighting for us. Not money. Not your dad." His eyes were steady, brown and warm like the first day we met at a mutual friend's barbecue. That night, we made love slowly, the kind that says more than words ever could. No rush, just skin and breath, and the promise that we were still choosing each other. Marcus called the next morning. "The bank wants to settle before trial. They're nervous about the discrimination angle." I felt a surge of power. For once, I wasn't the one apologizing for who I loved. I told him to push harder. "I want my life back, Marcus. All of it." He chuckled. "That's the spirit." Hearing in 2 weeks. The days blurred. I borrowed money from Sarah for groceries. Payback promised with interest. Jordan's mom sent a care package of homemade cookies with a note. Proud of both my boys. The kindness from his side of the family only highlighted the void on mine. Dad texted once more. This will blow over if you just come home and talk. I didn't reply. Home wasn't Texas anymore. Home was the apartment where Jordan left me coffee in the morning and Marcus fought battles I couldn't. The courtroom smelled of polished wood and nerves. I wore the gray suit Jordan had helped pick out, tie knotted too tight. Marcus sat beside me, papers organized like armor. Dad was there too, flown in from Dallas, wearing the same stiff expression he used at funerals. He wouldn't meet my eyes. The judge, Honorable Elena Ramirez, looked over her glasses and called the case. The bank's attorney spoke first, dry facts about verification protocols. Then Marcus stood. He laid out the timeline. No prior fraud flags, no police involvement, only a single email from Robert Miller containing the phrase, "My son's deviant lifestyle has clouded his judgment." Gasps rippled through the sparse gallery. Dad shifted in his seat. When it was his turn, Dad testified. His voice cracked once. I was worried. He's my son. I thought if the bank looked into it, they'd see he needed help. Help. The word landed like a slap. Marcus cross-examined gently, but relentlessly. Mr. Miller, did you have any evidence of fraud? No. Did you consult police? No. Were you aware that targeting someone based on sexual orientation can constitute harassment? Dad's lawyer objected. The judge allowed the question. Dad mumbled, I just wanted him safe. I took the stand next. My voice shook at first, then steadied as I described the rent scare, the client losses, the nights I wondered if Jordan would leave. This wasn't about money, I said, looking straight at Dad. It was about punishing me for loving someone. The courtroom was silent, except for the scratch of the stenographer's pen. Jordan waited outside. When I emerged, he pulled me into a hug right there in the hallway. You were incredible. Marcus joined us. Bank's offering full restoration plus $50,000. But I'm pushing for more. The judge is pissed. We celebrated with cheap tacos, laughing for the first time in weeks. Yet the betrayal still stung. My own father had tried to erase me financially because he couldn't erase who I was. That evening, Dad waited outside the courthouse. He looked smaller under the streetlights. Ethan, I cut him off. Save it. The judge will decide. He nodded once and walked away. Jordan squeezed my hand. You don't owe him closure. But part of me still wanted it, the way a kid wants a parent to say sorry and mean it. Judge Ramirez read her ruling with quiet authority. The complaint was filed without merit and appears motivated by personal bias. The bank shall restore all accounts immediately. Further, compensatory damages of $250,000 are awarded to the plaintiff for financial harm, emotional distress, and lost opportunities. She paused. Mr. Miller, Sr., I suggest you seek counseling. This court does not tolerate weaponized prejudice. The gavel fell. I sat stunned while Marcus shook my hand so hard it hurt. Jordan burst through the doors the moment we exited, eyes shining. It's over. I nodded, throat tight. The bank manager called within the hour. Funds available by morning. My phone lit up with transfer notifications. Rent, bills, even a cushion for the future. $250,000. Enough to breathe. Enough to dream. We went home and opened a bottle of wine we couldn't afford last month. Jordan raised his glass. To fighting back. I clinked mine against his. To us. Later we danced in the living room to an old playlist, slow and silly, the kind of joy that only comes after surviving a storm. Marcus texted a photo of the judgment order. Proud of you, Ethan. Go live. The next day I transferred Sarah the money I owed plus extra for the kids. She cried on the phone. Dad's been quiet. Mom's making him go to therapy. Small victories. I didn't call him yet. Some wounds need time before stitches. Jordan and I took a long walk along the Embarcadero. The bay sparkled under the same sun that had watched my world collapse weeks earlier. I almost lost you in all that mess, I admitted. He stopped, turned me to face him. You never lost me. You just reminded me how strong we are together. Then he kissed me right there on the pier, tourists smiling, ferry horns blaring. Public proud, unafraid. 6 months later, the money had done its work. I paid off my car, upgraded my design software, and started a small side hustle teaching graphic workshops at the LGBTQ community center. Jordan proposed on a foggy Saturday at the Golden Gate Bridge, ring hidden in a coffee cup like the hopeless romantic he is. I said yes before he finished the question. We laughed until we cried, tourists taking pictures of two men hugging like the world was new. Dad sent a card a week after the engagement announcement. Inside, one line, "I'm trying, son. Therapy's hard. Proud of the man you've become." No apology yet, but it was more than silence. I wrote back a single sentence. Doors open when you're ready. Some bridges take longer to rebuild. Marcus became a close friend. We double dated with his partner once a month, swapping courtroom stories and bad dad jokes. The compensation check had cleared every debt and left enough to invest in a future. Maybe a house, maybe kids through adoption. Jordan and I talked about it late at night, heads on the same pillow, mapping dreams that once felt impossible. Looking back, the freeze wasn't just about money. It was the moment I stopped hiding pieces of myself to keep peace with people who couldn't accept all of me. I learned that love isn't just romance. It's the friends who show up, the lawyer who fights dirty, the partner who stays when spreadsheets get ugly. Justice came from courtroom, but healing came from choosing to keep loving anyway. Tonight, Jordan's asleep beside me, ring glinting on his finger. The bank app shows a healthy balance. My father is still learning, and I am finally free, not because a judge said so, but because I refuse to let anyone lock away the man I was born to be. In the end, this story taught me that prejudice can freeze more than bank accounts. It can freeze hearts if we let it. Yet when we stand up, speak truth, and lean on the people who truly see us, justice arrives not just as money, but as deeper love and self-worth. The real compensation isn't dollars. It's waking up every day unafraid to be exactly who you are. Never let someone else's fear decide your worth. Fight for your life, your love, your future, because the right people, and sometimes the law, will fight right beside you.